in the business for 38 years. And I run everything like I run the expansion division, which means that we are in 42 different cities across the country where we have teams that are running real estate teams like we're running it back in Wasilla at the hub. So I now am an OP of several market centers in Arizona, from Flagstaff all the way to Sierra Vista on the border, and everywhere in between. And we run our market centers exactly like we run expansion, because we've just realized that the expansion model is a business model, and that business model works in real estate as well, just like it works with Starbucks or Walgreens or Walmart. So we run everything that we do around the expansion model, which means centralized services. And then in different locations, like let's just take a market center, for instance, around the state of Arizona. Our hub is in Scottsdale. And then we have, several different locations around the state, so that they don't require as many services at the local hub, because we're providing them from the centralized location. So that's who I am. That's what we do. Local production numbers. Last year, we did $750 million in revenue, in volume. This year, it'll be interesting to see where we land at the end of the year. We were about neck and neck with where we were last year when we looked at our numbers at the end of August. So with the shift in the market, that's really started in about May, which really affected not only our agent business, but of course, then the market center business. We'll be ahead of last year, but we probably won't reach $1 billion in volume until next year.
Cool. How many major market shifts do you think you've navigated through in your career?
Major to me is when the value of a home goes from $250,000 to $25,000. That's a major shift. That's a major shift. I would say, that's a major shift. A minor shift might be, dropping 25%, 30%. I've been through at least 6 of those. So a bunch. They had a different name, Shana, but they were the exact same thing.
Right. And the market's always shifting. That's why I said major market shift, because it's like, thank goodness it's always shifting.
I think the beauty of going through a devastating shift that I went through in 1989, that was worse than 2008, if you can believe that. You were there. You weren't old enough to be in real estate then, but I was.
There.
And the point being is, once you've been through it at an extreme level, everything else seems easier. And I know it's not easy for everyone, but to me, we've always come out of shifts ahead meaning ahead in taking territory, ahead in there was opportunities that we were able to take advantage of during a shift. So to me, I get kind of excited and happy when the market shifts, because not everybody's able to survive it. Not everybody wants to survive it. And we just go into a completely different mode when the shifts happen.
Right. James, your turn.
Sure. I'm James Hern. My brother Michael and I own and run the Hern Group out of Kansas City. We operate very similarly to Kristan's model, except we're a much smaller version of that. We did approximately $100 million last year. The numbers that I just looked at yesterday show that we're up about 20% over last year. And I believe that is when I'm looking at the other numbers, that's a little bit of a falsehood, because we see volume carrying us all right now. And a lot of us have seen those numbers increase because, hey, home prices have been up, right? So we're not happy with that, yet that's where we're at, and we'll continue to push forward. We are based out of Kansas City. We do have a lot of expansion locations around us, within an hour's drive. And then we have some as far away as Colorado and the Carolinas. So we're kind of spread out that way. But again, a much smaller, some of those locations are one person, right? So we're smaller in that respect. However, we do operate from a general hub. Just as Kristan said, we use those economies of scale to pass on to those individuals and to make everything more profitable. Michael and I chose, and this is our business model, we chose a couple years ago to quit worrying about being the biggest around here. We wanted to be the most profitable, right? So we started focusing on how much money we were making and how many lives we were impacting of the people on our team. So we kind of looked at it a little bit differently than some people do. We all get numbers. The numbers come, especially when you treat people right. Kristan knows our team's mantra is just serve first. We look to help people. And when we're helping those people, we're changing lives, and we're changing our lives in the process. So that's where we come from, where we're at, what we're doing, and always looking to get better. I can't even tell you how many things I've been to in the last several months, even though I've lived through, Kristan said 5 or 6. I'm not far behind Kristan because I've been in this business for 27 years, yet we're a little bit insulated where we're at in Kansas City. And by that, I mean, we didn't get those huge ripples every single time that the markets shook. I believe that I've been through 3 major shifts and maneuvered through those, survived and thrived. So I can't say 5 or 6, but I can say 3 major ones that I can kind of count back to in those 27 years that I believe we kind of know what to do in this one. Though they're all different, we've kind of got a pretty good idea what we need to do.
Awesome. Thank you, James.
Mm-hmm.
And then Denny, our famous, like joining us hot out of old. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tell us, Denny Grimes, obviously, we want to know where you're from, how long you've been here, what your business model is, what your year-to-date numbers are looking like. Just a brief intro before we get started.
Oh my gosh. I can't even remember all those questions.
Start, who are you?
I'm
Would you
Denny
like for me to
Grimes.
answer them for you?
Yeah, I'm Denny Cole, and Denny Grimes, Southwest Florida, Fort Myers, Naples. And I've got 40 years experience. So James, but when I had 25 years, James was just getting his teeth cut into real estate. So, and interesting about our market, unlike Kansas City, very much like Phoenix and Las Vegas, the last major shift. I mean, we just had a major storm, right? Everyone's talking about it. However, when it came to the shift, we had a bubble. Now, what we're going through now is a shift, not a bubble. And the 3 cities that were competing for the most depressed markets in the country were Phoenix, Fort Myers, where I am, and Las Vegas. And it was cataclysmic. I mean, it was awful. We saw a change in median sales price from over 329,000 down to 79,000 in 2007. And I remember doing the market stats, and I've been following Gary's advice as far as being a local economist of choice and tracking numbers for the better part of almost 30 years. If you stepped into our market right back then in 2007, and you had a budget of $100,000, I'm talking about property with indoor plumbing, and you wanted to buy a home for $100,000, we had 4,200 homes on the market below $100,000. That, from a market standpoint, was equal to what Hurricane Ian did to our market 3 weeks ago today. So we did, I think we're about 230 units, I think right now. We did just shy of 360 last year. So we're running probably 30% behind, 25 or 30% behind last year.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's a great, Denny, you talked about 2008. That's a great intro to our first question, which was, there's been a lot of market chatter, and I think a lot of the people that we work with and believe that there's going to be a bubble like we saw in 2008. And I want to ask the 3 of you, what did you guys learn in the 2008 market shift, and how do you see it differently today?
What order are you asking?
Let's start with James.
Sure. 2008, I would say what we learned from 2008 is, number one, my brother, Michael, my business partner, he did this first. He figured out what got to him, and what got to him was the media. He listened to the negativity, and it really affected his game. And so he chose to turn the media off completely. He would literally ask me what the weather was going to be because he did not want to hear it. And because of that, he chose to remove all that negativity. In 2008, social media was not where it is today, right? We didn't see all of that. However, had it been, you would be blocking those things that were giving you the negativity. And so turned off the news media, did not listen to naysayers. There's always the naysayer and whatever's going on in and around everything that you do. It doesn't matter how good the market is, good or bad, somebody's saying something, the world's going to crash, there's a problem. And if you listen to those people, you start buying into that. So it was clearing your mindset, getting your mindset right, focusing on what really mattered in your business and what mattered to you. And what mattered to Michael and I, being here in the Midwest, we grew up on a farm, and our dad taught us very, very hard work and how important that was. Our dad owned a commercial construction company. And I think, in all honesty, that was a gift to Michael and I, because we didn't know anything but hard work. So we just kept our head down and kept going, and realized what everyone on this Zoom is probably going to say to some level is you just got to talk to more people. Gary had mentioned, you need to be spending half the day talking to people instead of maybe the 2 hours you were spending prior to what's going on right now. In all honesty, that's been going on for a while because the market's just gotten that much harder. But those daily contacts increase because we have to find the willing in these markets. I've talked to several today and in the past couple of days that they're out there. People still have to move. Things still change in their life. Marriages, divorces, births, deaths, graduations, all those things spur people to do something. And it does not matter what the interest rate is. Years ago, I was in the mortgage business. And the first thing that the president of that mortgage company told me, which I ended up running the company in 18 months. I was in charge of the company. He told me interest rates are irrelevant. And I think people need to hear that today, that interest rates are irrelevant. Now, when he spoke that to me, I thought he was insane, right? Because I thought if interest rates are not irrelevant, what he meant by that is as soon as the dust settles, as soon as people see they're not going to change, they decide in that very moment, am I going to live my life or am I going to worry for the rest of my life? So literally people buy, sell, do everything. We got a little sticker shock with some folks right now. Seek out folks just like we did then that have specialty programs that can help your folks get into that home, even if it's only a temporary fix. But get them where they need to be, get their problem solved. That's what we are. That's what all get paid for, is we're high dollar problem solvers. And so that's really what we did, changed our mindset, cut the negativity out, got it out of our system, and then just focused on working very, very hard.
Awesome. Kristan.
I think there's several differences between today's market and 2008. One difference is that 63% of all people who hold mortgages right now, are less than 4% interest. Okay, well, that wasn't the case in 2008. 40% of the homeowners own their home free and clear. Well, that wasn't true in 2008. In 2008, we had an abundance of inventory. That's not true today.
That's not changing.
In 2008, there literally were no buyers. Today, there are still the people who have to buy and sell. Homeowners have more equity in their home than they've ever had in the history of the housing market as a general rule across the home buying average, or the average home. And so when you look at that, they have more money in their home than they've ever had in terms of equity. Almost half of them don't even have a mortgage. 63% of them who do have a mortgage is less than 4%. That causes a very different problem than 2008. Mm-hmm. Very different. So, in today, it's you have to find the sellers that have a reason to move because they have a lot of reasons to stay. So it's just a different market completely, especially when you look at REOs and foreclosures and forbearance and all of that. That's basically non-existent right now. So this is a very different market. And so what we are doing is like James, and I think I sent that, didn't I send that flyer to you last week that
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Intralend, our finance company here in Arizona, create a flyer for our agents to really show, well, what did it look like in February compared to now, given the interest rate difference, and really showing a buyer how they could still buy the home that they wanted or would have bought for even a higher price back then. And we showed them a way to do that. James is right. I know that he was on the phone calling different mortgage companies to find like 2-1 buy downs, things like that. Yeah, you've got to go find not only the willing sellers and the willing buyers, but you also have to go find the finance companies who are willing to do things a little bit differently in order to get people into homes now. And then if they want to refinance later, they have that opportunity. So it's a very different market than it was in 2008.
And James talked about the one thing that Gary said in his interview yesterday to Inman, and I wrote it down, was make sure you're spending half your day talking to people. I think another huge portion of your day needs to be investing in the skills and the knowledge to help those people. If you talk to the people and you don't have the tools to help them get where they need to be, Can
I say one more thing about that? And then
yeah.
I know Denny will have an additional perspective, but what I would also say is that what I'm seeing more than I saw in 2008. Now I was in a different market in 2008. So it may have been just the size of my market that I didn't see this, but what we see right now is a huge flight to safety. What does that mean? We see, now you think, oh, well, that means a solo agent running to a team. That can be, but I kid you not, last night, 4:30, I was sitting in the boardroom and we got a call from an independent who closed $180 million last year, who wanted to come talk to us about joining our organization. Now, why would that be?
They're scared.
Well, right. But why would you be scared right now? Why would you be scared? If you just cranked out 180 million last year, why would you be scared?
Because your expenses are high.
Yes, that's true. And they are scared, but there's another really fundamental reason.
They want to try.
That's a great one too.
I'll give you
the answer. It's because they were not real estate agents in 2008.
That's right.
They don't have a freaking clue how to go through this market.
Right.
Then they want to run to somebody who does, who can help them navigate through it. Yeah. That's a very different problem that we didn't have in 2008. You have to remember that over half of the realtors have been realtors now less than 3 years.
Right.
And there's 1.6 million of them with NAR. And we're only going to sell about 3.5 million houses next year. So something has to give.
Yeah.
So that's a very different market than 2008. We didn't have 1.6 million realtors in 2008. So all I'm saying is there's in everything I just said, there's one thing that stands out to me, and it's that there's massive opportunity to take territory like never before. You just have to be, you better have a foundation to do it. And you better be looking for it, which means you've got to have white space in your calendar to even see it. And you better be talking to a whole bunch of people, and you better be out there telling your story so that they're coming towards you rather than, sitting around crying and whining about the market.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents.
Denny, I saw you madly taking notes. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Well, just everything they said, only better. I don't know. I feel like I don't even know if I can add anything because, first of all, you can't have a fire without something to burn. So for a bubble, there's no fodder out there for a fire. You have to have excess inventory. You have to have speculative inventory, and all the reasons that Kristan just went through. Now, a bubble can be formed if there's some sort of a worldwide or national trauma, like a war or our currency goes to dust. I mean, barring an Armageddon experience, there's no bubble out there. However, I want agents to realize, and we talk about this in step 1 in bold, which I just finished for the last 2 days, about things you can control and you can't control. I wonder if there's something wrong with me, Shana, because I don't even think about the market as far as what it is or what it's not. It is what it is. We can't control it. And what's interesting is people talk about things they can't control instead of acting on things they do control, which is what they're talking about. You got to talk to more people. So here's a couple of different things I want people to understand. And you guys in Alaska get this because we go out to Whittier and you have one of the biggest tidal flows there is, right? Do you realize when it's low tide, it's high tide somewhere else and vice versa? Why do we think the last market we just got out of, where we saw 70% appreciation in 2 years, was such a great market? That's called a frat party. It's not sustainable. And it's unhealthy, yet we sometimes want to compare ourselves to that. So the buyers weren't having fun. I use the analogy today when I was coaching Bold about helping people understand we're talking about things you can control, and people talk about the interest rates in the market, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, if you want to talk about it after you've talked to people, when you have nothing else to talk about. We're talking about how lucky the Giants are to win 5 games. So when a professional golfer goes out there to play a tournament, they have 4 days, not counting the pro-am, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have the cut after Friday. Do they have any idea for sure what the weather is going to be all 4 days?
No.
It is what it is. And the golfers don't fret about, they don't worry what it might be. They just look at the forecast and they address and club and adapt accordingly. That's all we have to do. And if agents really want to get a handle on what's really going on, then they should be tracking their inventory, the change in inventory in their market, which is the barometer of a changing weather pattern. As your inventory starts to grow, the media is not there. The media likes to report change of sales, change in median sales price. That's like reading the paper after the ball game. Giants won again. How lucky are they? When you track inventory, that's the precursor to what's going to happen. Now, with that, they can have some indication of what may be happening to advise their clients properly. However, I'm not in the predicting business. I am in basically people still want to move. They want to get bigger. They want to get smaller. They want to go north. They want to go south, and help them do that. The challenge we have is just what you guys said. They've been fishing from a trout pond for 10 years. And for the last 2 years, they've never had to get the pole out of the car. The fish is hopping in the net. Now people have to go out there and actually have strong conversations. And what Kristan's saying, they're not used to it. They don't know how. Listen, don't fear the future. The future is going to be here, whether you like it or not. Adapt.
Awesome. Thank you. I think, Denny, that leads us really well into the next question, which is what really talking about leadership. And all of us on this call have strong leadership roles in our life in many places. What leadership decisions are you making today with the people in your world? Or anywhere. Go ahead.
They're much more tactical rather than strategic. When you're in the frat party, as Denny said, the last couple of years, we tend to be in growth mode. We tend to spend more money. We tend to be very strategic. We're thinking about growth. We're looking for growth opportunities. And I would say right now we are being very, very tactical. How do we teach our people hand-to-hand combat in order to win at the kitchen table? And while as a leadership group, I had this conversation, I cannot tell you with how many of my leaders this week about this very thing. Examine your capacity, examine your systems, and examine your expenses. Because they don't see the tidal wave coming. I know what tidal wave is coming because I've been here way too many times. People wait way too long to cut their expenses. They wait way too long to examine their capacity and right size. They wait way too long to take their systems and make them more efficient so they can do more with fewer people. Mm-hmm. And they wait way too long to do that. So I'm having a conversation with them right now about it. And they're looking at me like, what are you talking about, Willis? Like, seriously. And what I tell them is I said, you know what, if this tidal wave comes and continues for at least another year, or 18 months, you're going to be happy that we did this. If this tidal wave doesn't come, you're going to be happy that we did this. Mm-hmm. But I said, I'm not saying that we aren't going to grow, because we are. And as a matter of fact, we always grow during this market. But it's really an opportunity to examine those three things: capacity, expenses, and systems. And also getting, just like we say, you've got to be having more conversations with people. That also means your agents. That also means getting them to a skill level that they've never had to experience before, because they've never experienced any other market than a smorgasbord. They don't know how to have a conversation with the seller at the beginning of the relationship to explain to them, if this happens, here's our expectations. They don't even know how to do that. They don't know how to follow up with the seller because they never have had to follow up with the seller.
It's interesting. I'm writing a class for an office I'm going to go teach in on seller systems. And to us, it feels so basic, but you're right. People have either forgotten or they don't have that in their toolbox to work with a seller for longer than 45 days.
For longer than a day.
Right.
45 minutes.
Right. James, let's jump to you. Leadership decisions. Where's your mind at in leadership today?
Well, I think as a leader, and Kristan just talked about what happened last night with this $180 million indie reaching out, people are running to strong leadership. They're looking for true leaders because, number one, she alluded to it, she said it, these folks didn't know what to do because they didn't live through it. They're seeking out people, leaders, market centers, offices, coaches, whatever. I see so many coaches. Denny probably sees this as well on in his world, the bold world, other coaching organizations. There are people out coaching agents today that have only been in the business 6 or 7 years, most of them never in production, right? This is a skills-based season. We just came out of a no skills necessary season for the last decade that Denny was just talking about. Literally anyone could sell a house and do it in minutes. Mm-hmm. That is not reality. Reality is calling every Monday morning to explain to that seller why no one's shown their house in the last week and what we're doing to get people in the door and how that's going to be different this week, hopefully, and everything that we're doing and that we're with you all the way. And if you've just been in the business for a couple of years, those people cuss you out occasionally. You know, they're not happy. They're very upset. So focusing on skills, which we've been doing for quite some time, but honing those skills on the team. And not everyone, as John Maxwell says, not everyone wants to go up the hill. When we're going downhill, it's really easy. It's really easy to jump in and ride along with everybody. When we got to pull the wagon uphill, which is us maybe working on ourselves to get a little bit better, not everybody wants to come along. But pouring into those agents on your team, the agents that are joining your offices, the agents that are around you, if you're a single agent, joining forces to learn from the best, to figure out what you need to do in this very moment. Because we have a little something, because I believe that the media just is always wrong in whatever messaging they're putting out there. I truly believe it. I watch stuff. I know Denny's on TV giving them stats on what's happening. They don't care. They spend that however they want. We should be the media. We should be giving that to the people in our database. We should be giving it to the people that look to us as having knowledge in this business. And we developed a little training that we started training on actually a year ago, and it works very well. And we call it the 3 V's. And it's pretty simple. We learn from Gary Keller and draw a triangle on the board. But this is how we do it. We start with value. So what value do we as an agent bring to those people? If we're talking to agents, what value do we bring to agents? If we're talking to home sellers, buyers, whoever we're focused on. And how do we deliver that value? Well, we choose to deliver that value through video, which everyone's got one of these sitting somewhere very near to them, right? It doesn't cost anything to send a message with this, post it on Facebook, wherever, to let them know. Target the specific, send them an email specifically to your database, letting them know what's going on in the market, letting them know that there's hope. Kristan, I talked to a banker today, and I've got a call as soon as we get done here. He can give us a 3.9931 ARM, and they'll refinance people out of that in that 3 years for free. That's the kind of stuff we got to dig up. We got to find people like that have those specialty programs that know this is the long haul. Let's get some business. Let's pick up some new business. And you're right, whatever we pick up as we're running along with these strong skills, we're never going to give up. The last thing in that value that we're presenting them through the video is it brings validity to everything that we're saying and doing, because they see you, they continually see what you're saying coming true, because it will, because you're focusing on that, you're helping them. And we always draw a nice little dollar sign in the middle of that triangle, because that's what it brings you. But it's a perpetual cycle. It just keeps going around. It could be a circle just as easily, because you're bringing that value. you're delivering it through the medium of video, and it's bringing validity to you. You're sharing all the things that they should be telling you on television, but it doesn't sell well to let everyone know, hey, it's going to be fine. Dust is going to settle. We've got your solution. Come see us today. They don't want to hear it. So that's what we're focusing on, is focusing on those skills and focusing on the delivery of the message to all the people that come in our world.
That's awesome. I just wrote that down. Thanks, James.
Wow.
Stole it. Denny, leadership
Yeah.
today.
I'm sorry? Leadership
today. Yeah. What decisions are you making that may have been different than 2 years ago?
Well, for me, I've had some turnover in my hub, so I don't have everything quite as neatly ordered like little soldiers in a line. It more looked like goldfish swimming in a fishbowl. And I've got a missing persons out there. And the other thing that we've had to deal with as 3 weeks ago today, it's actually taken our focus off the national shift, which we've all been talking about and what we're feeling because of the hurricane that basically wiped out our county. What I've had to focus on is get people focused on the future and quit looking at the past. People have basically been shell-shocked in our marketplace. And so I've been attempting to show leadership to my team, to get them back to work. The best way to help people, yeah, you can hand out water bottles, which is awesome. We should do that. There's people out there that have a lot of real estate questions. They don't know who to turn to. So I've been doing some of that, both from my team standpoint and from, the platform that I have of media. One of the things that I'm doing, James, is I'm getting out of the fear of those little videos. I have to forget what I think I look like. I look like what I look like, if I don't like it or not. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't look like that. And so I'm working on that and do that more. I love what you said. And the other thing, James, you said that I like too is like, I don't know how Gary said it. We're leaving a speed market to a skill-based market. What you said made me think about it, James, is that we always were in a skill market until we basically had spring break for a while.
Yeah.
We're just going back to the market that's comfortable to us, right? We've always had that. And so the party's over. Dandy Don said, turn out the lights, the party's over. So like Kristan said, there's agents that never had to work into that environment. So I'm going back to leadership. I'm attempting to be a leader of my team to get back our organization and a leader in our community to get people focused forward.
Love that. I love that. I think the one thing I heard from all of you is the skills do no good if we don't tell the story. If we're not sharing the skills with the people that we lead, with the community that we lead, with the database that we lead. Yeah, the skills are irrelevant.
Could I say one more thing about that?
Yeah.
And that's this. Anytime there's a shift, it doesn't matter what the shift is. I think it's critical that the leader shows up, is visible, overly communicates, and has a proven plan to follow, because those things right there build confidence. And Gary Keller has summoned all of the OPs to Dallas-Fort Worth tomorrow for Thursday and Friday. Now think about that. In a shifting market, doesn't that make sense? The leader wants to show up, be visible, overly communicate what the proven plan is that's going to get us through this next shift. So whether you're Gary Keller or whether you're leading yourself, during a shift, the worst thing that we can do is try to pretend that it doesn't exist. Kind of like why we don't open our 401k envelopes, right? But what we need to do is, and I shared this a lot, learned it from John Maxwell, where he says, everybody loves the uphill goals, but they have downhill habits. And so for leaders, it's important, if we want to see people engaging in what they can control and not worried about what they can't control, which is pretty much everything else, that they have to show up as the leader. They have to be willing. Are they willing to do whatever it takes? And doing whatever it takes can mean a lot of things. It can mean picking up trash. It can mean sitting at the front desk. There's a lot of things that it's all hands on deck until it's not all hands on deck anymore. Right. And so I think that when I was on a different Zoom call this morning, and Allison and I were on it, and Patrick, and we were talking about that very thing. Gary Keller is modeling, which every single one of us should be doing as a leader right now. high visibility, highly communicative, and having a proven plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
That will build confidence.
It's confidence. It's spreading confidence.
Right.
All right. Next question, which is fun. Kristan and we actually had this conversation a few months ago, and I'm if you don't share the same answer that is still stuck in my head, I'm going to share it. But what do you see as the greatest opportunity today? Because there are opportunities, and how do you know? How do you know that it's an opportunity?
You always know that it's an opportunity when it looks like a big fat problem. Because anyone who can take a really large problem and bring a simple solution, that's where the opportunity always lies. And the issue is that you don't really see it as an opportunity until you get smack dab in the middle of the whirlwind. So you almost have to run to the problems, get in the middle of them. That's where you're going to see the opportunities that are available that no one else is paying attention to. So that's really the key, is running to the problem, which seems so counterintuitive, but it's true. Run to the problem. You'll find the solutions. You'll find the opportunities.
Can you, off topic, can you think of a specific situation like that, either today or in the past or at any point, that we've been in the middle of a hurricane, if you will? Sorry, Denny, like we are right now, and there was this silver platter there for you that you didn't see at the time that you grabbed?
Buying market centers. A lot of market centers are struggling. Looks like a big fat problem. If you can come in and bring your expertise and show them how, by partnering with you can take because inside of that underperforming market center is a profitable market center.
Yeah.
It just looks like an underperforming
or office.
one.
Doesn't
right?
Any market center,
or
any
office or team,
organization. Right.
And so I think that's probably one of the skill sets that I'm pretty good at, is going in and looking at it and being able to see, yeah, it looks like a problem, but in the middle of that is a massive opportunity. And it just takes it usually takes 3 to 6 months. And all of a sudden now it looks like, oh my gosh, Kristan was so lucky. No, Kristan wasn't lucky. So I see that. Other opportunities, most of the time, Shana, you're having conversations with them for quite some time before you ever figure out the opportunity. And here's what I would say. The way you figure out the opportunity is this. You ask the question, what problem are you trying to solve?
It's my favorite question. What problem are you
I'll
trying
give you
to
an
solve?
example. So Jim Dunning and myself have been in relationship with Greg Haig, who most of you know owns 72 Sold, which is a separate company than his brokerage. And we started talking to him last November. And he kept telling us that his problem was he had too many leads and they were falling through the cracks, and he just had way too many leads. That wasn't his problem. The problem that he needed solved was he didn't have enough agents.
Right.
And he couldn't grow them, attract them. He couldn't do that fast enough to keep up with his leads. All of a sudden, me with 1,700 agents, all of a sudden I become an answer to his problem. So we were able to partner. So here's a big problem. But the problem really is that he doesn't have enough agents. Well, guess who had enough agents to partner with him and really solve his problem?
Right.
So that's an example of something very recent. But it's always like people see things as problems, but when you get in the middle of it, you can find the opportunity. If you ask the question, what problem are you trying to solve? Because usually they'll give you the symptom.
Yeah. James.
What I'm going to say, I 100% agree with what Kristan's saying there. I'm also going to piggyback on something she said earlier, and that is, to me, the biggest opportunity is market share. And it doesn't matter if you're a single agent, a small team, a big team, it makes no difference who you are. Market center. We've already talked about how people will end up leaving this business, running the other direction, as fast as they can, because they don't understand what to do. They're not seeking that leadership because they don't know to. They're just scared. They're living in fear. They're not seeking out people who can solve their problem. That gentleman was smart enough to seek out someone that could solve his problem, that could come alongside him, that could join together and help him be more profitable, more productive. So I believe market share, because the main reason I believe that is because that's how we grew back in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, all during that period when everyone else was scared to death, at least in our market. because they hadn't lived through anything like that. And they didn't know what they had to do. They didn't know they had to get better scripted. They had to be better scripted when they're talking to people. They had to hone their skills when they're talking to someone that doesn't know how to get out of this situation where they're upside down in their house. We're not going to have too many short sales this time. Last time we had to become a master of a short sale, and we did a lot of them, 20, 30, whatever, out of our little office ourselves every single month. Those were not fun in the beginning. And then all those systems got honed out and you were just shelling them out every single day. That market, everything we captured didn't go away when things got good. We were on solid ground. So as an individual agent, as a small team, as a big team, whatever you are, that market share you gain will never disappear because the agents disappear that were competing against you. In our market, I'll just share this. It may not be this way in Florida. It may not be this way in Arizona. It may not be where everyone's at yet. What happened was 50% of the agents went away and 90% of the business was still there. So we saw the market contract 10%. We lost almost 50% of the agents. Where did that business go? Well, it went to me, and it went to people like me that were willing to hone their skills, focus on digging a little deeper, and they took it, and we took it. And so the greatest opportunity is market share. And this adversity, whatever adversity we go through, it makes us stronger. And once you gain that strength, that knowledge, that muscle, the muscle's there from now on. You may have to stretch it again later, but the muscle's there. You just keep going. It's less effort, less problems. But those daily activities of lifting those weights, those muscles stay there, and your skill will grow through that daily activity.
That's a great takeaway, but I just want to say that, like what you said, James, what you learned in previous market shifts is the muscle you build is going to stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The muscle that you build, the habits that you put in place today, the grit that you put in place today is going to be with you.
That's right.
I'd also say, find other like-minded people to go through this with. James, you, Michael, and myself, we talk every Wednesday for 45 minutes, usually an hour, because we get a little off topic sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do that with 4 or 5 different groups across the country every week. And it's because I'm taking the temperature and I'm seeing what they're seeing. And tell me, we always start with Michael, tell me what the numbers are and tell me what you're, what those look like, how many are coming on the market, how many are going off the market, et cetera. And so I think that's a really good use of time too, is to spend time talking with other people across the country and finding out because it's just little tiny, it's 1% changes in something that James may be doing. Like I remember when you shared with me the 3 V's, like I thought, oh my gosh, this is genius. It's just those little things that you can pick up that makes you have that edge,
right?
And then you can teach it to your people. And so it's, those are like, who are your 5? Who are you hanging around? Who are you listening to? Who are you learning from? And I choose to spend time with really smart people like James and Michael and others like that are thinking through this market and like, what can we do instead of what we can't do.
Right.
And I believe making it as easy as possible for them right now to know and understand whatever it is they need to do. I learned something from Andy Stanley, which is a mega pastor in the United States, but his sermons, so we're preaching to our people, right? We're giving them, Denny's preaching that bold every single session he's in there, right? His messaging is to make it memorable and portable. So to make it memorable and portable, we have to package it in a certain way, the 3 V's, something like that. Something easy to remember and easy to do, but very productive. When we rolled that in a year ago, the first gal that took our 30-day challenge went from closing 3 or 4 a month to closing 12, just by doing a daily little video. And it didn't have to be anything she wasn't doing already. She's showing a house, she's doing an inspection. She dropped by the local garage sale. It didn't have to be about real estate even, but people saw her in the community. What are those things that can become memorable and can become portable for you that you don't forget it? It's easy to do each and every day.
Denny, chat with us a little bit about opportunity. Where do you see the opportunity, and how do you know it's an opportunity?
Well, like Kristan said, she had that $180 million, indie calling her. Agents are going to seek refuge. When the business gets tough, they're going to seek refuge somewhere, something different. And I think opportunity lies, and you can tell where people are looking by listening to what they say. If they're talking about things that have happened, their eyes are backwards. They're not looking for opportunities. They're talking about what's already happened. Look at sports writers. Again, not to use a football analogy and wear it out, but they're all over Tom Brady, and they lost a game. He looks like he's lost his focus. They never talk about the next game. They want to report, this is what the media does and what's already happened. So I think the opportunity is, it's kind of like, when you watch a professional magician, you've got to watch the hand he's not showing off. That's where the opportunity is. I used the analogy earlier about with a low tide somewhere, there's a high tide somewhere else. You've got to put your eyeballs 180 degrees different from where everybody else is looking and talking. That's where the opportunity is. And it could be, for example, people in our storm, hurricane damage, they're wringing their hands, they're talking about the damage, they're talking about the destruction. There is a ton of opportunity there. And you know what? The buyers are already calling me from a national perspective. And I've laid out for our marketplace the 3 types of buyers that are coming in. And the old rule, get this, guys, we've all been told that the seller should accept the first offer. I'm preaching exactly the opposite to people in our marketplace, going back to leadership. The first offer will not be your best, because that's going to be the opportunist buyer. Then you're going to have this phase 2. It's going to be the rational investor still wanting to stay wholesale. And finally, when the market settles, the dust settles, the user will step back in, and their land property is going to be worth more than what it was before. So you've got to look in the opposite direction where everybody else is talking.
I love that. Look in the opposite direction of where everybody else is talking. That was great. Okay, final question. Maybe some surprises. My question is, are you scared? Or are you concerned, and why?
That would be no. Because we've just been here so many times. Like I said, the name may be different. Maybe 9/11, it may be the financial meltdown, it may be COVID. They all have different names. The complete oil meltdown in 1986 to 89, but they all behave the same way. And so for me, I've just been here too many times, know what to do, and get our people doing it as fast as possible and keeping them consistent at it. Because what we know is that you're not going to take territory during the shift. You're probably going to just maintain, but coming out of it, it's like a golf swing. When you come out of it, the speed of the head of that club is massive. So it's like convincing a new agent that you need to do this consistently. And about the 4th, 5th, and 6th months that starts to show up, it's the same thing. So one of our agents said, I am going to believe in your belief. Mm-hmm. I just needed your belief and I'm going to be fine. So I think the opportunity is that we, for our people not to be scared or concerned enough to do the right things, but not concerned enough that it paralyzes them. They need you as a leader to show up and have a proven plan to walk them through this so that they get out the other side like the bottom of a golf swing and just crush it.
Awesome. James, Denny.
My answer is going to be a little bit different. I'll explain why. Am I concerned? Yes and no. I've already alluded to it, but I'm concerned for those agents who do not have strong leadership in their world. The agents that don't have a market center that they can run to, a team that they can run to, a leader that they can run to that's going to give them the advice because they're seasoned how to get through this storm. I am concerned for them because I love and care about those people, whether they're on my team or a part of my market center or not. I know you guys do as well. I want them to succeed. Are they going to seek that out? I hope they do. Am I concerned? No, I'm not. Same reasons Kristan's sharing there. There's opportunity everywhere. Are we looking for it? This is in all honesty, this is what we've been waiting for as agents that have been through this before, because we know that it gets rid of some of the problem agents that create some issues, that aren't trained well, that haven't honed their skills, that aren't going to Denny's Bold class to learn how to do it, right? Aren't operating that way. So I'm not concerned one bit, actually looking forward to it, a nervous excitement. We don't know what it's exactly going to bring, because every one of these shifts, these setbacks are just a little bit different, but the outcome's always the same. The strong survive, and it's because they're doing the opposite of what the majority's doing, just what Denny's saying. The old Warren Buffett quote, which basically is, whatever everyone else is running to, you need to run the other direction. And in that realm, he's talking about buying stock. Don't sell when everyone's selling, be buying, because that's when you get the best buys. But my friend Dan Grebe posted this earlier today, and I thought this is true. And again, Denny, I know you just went through a hurricane there, and that's not wonderful. Very hard stuff going on there. But Dan said, not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. And that's the way I'm looking at this. The storm of this shift is coming to clear the path for the strong agents, the smart agents, the skilled agents who are going to do what's necessary to take care of their clients, to get their fulfill their fiduciary responsibilities to their clients and help them win.
That's awesome. I'm writing that down too.
You never write anything down.
Where I get more information than
you don't write stuff. You don't write down stuff I say. I'm not going to talk anymore. So one of the things that's interesting in our marketplace, and when you compare like football, and honey, that was really a good golf analogy. You must have Pebble Beach on your mind. So when you compare yourself to the 72 Dolphins, which are the 17-0 season, there's been 49 Super Bowl champions since then. That when you compare their record to the Dolphins, they fall short. We just had 2 perfect years, and particularly 2021 was a perfect season. So our year-over-year numbers are sucky compared to that perfect season. Yet when our best year prior to that was 2019, and only in the last 60 days have our numbers start to drop a little bit below our best year ever before the frat party. So we got to keep things in perspective. Am I afraid? No more afraid, going to a golf analogy, than a golfer is when he shows up for Sunday and there's thunderstorms and rain. So he has to just change. I'm not afraid at all, because you know what? That's just the way it is. And if my advice to agents, if they have agents on here, Kristan talks to leaders a lot. I talk to agents. You should be on my Friday call, because we talk about conversations you should be having with your buyers and sellers, the physics of real estate, how to have pricing conversations, the 3 outcomes that equip you to have strong conversations in any market. So that's a shameless plug.
That is a shameless plug, but it's a fantastic call. So I'm glad you made it. Tegan, I don't know if you have a free hand to put that link in the chat box. That is a fantastic call.
Some of the rainmakers in our organization, they do not miss that call. And it doesn't matter whether his name was Denny or his name was James. The content is that good about helping you be a better skilled agent, so that when you sit at that kitchen table, you're going to win the listing. And we all know that the listing's where it's at. So
just be careful. He will call you out.
Yeah.
When you're not prepared. So here's what I heard. I've been writing a lot of stuff down, even things you said, Denny. The one is be a leader and to seek leadership, right? Working through a shift, be a leader of yourself and to seek leadership at all levels, right? Myself, Kristan, James, the people we lead, we're also looking for leaders. Get skilled and look for your opportunities. And then filter your input. Filter your input, which leaves me with one final closing thing that I always love. It's what I always love to get out of a meeting. What are you listening to right now? Whether it be a podcast or what's the favorite thing you're listening to right now? And what are you reading?
I'm listening to Housing Wire every Monday. They have I can't even say his last name, but
Motoshami. I'm
Motoshami.
addicted to him.
Yeah.
I'm like a
I love
super
him.
fan.
I'm a super fan of his. I listen to Morning Wire every morning. I listen to Housing Wire every Monday because Mogoshami's on there. Is that how you say it?
Logan.
Yeah. Logan.
Just call him Logan.
I occasionally will look at Inman, but sometimes it's shameless plugs, so I don't always pay that much attention to it. There's several podcasts I listen to. Right now I'm reading the new book by Tom Wheelwright because I want to save money on my taxes. Tired of paying taxes. So there's a few.
Awesome. James, what are you listening to and what are you reading?
I am rereading The Compound Effect. Can I help you with something? Okay. I don't know. I'm rereading The Compound Effect. Sorry about that. Somebody came in while I'm doing this. Apologize.
You're a cool dude.
Because it really is what we're doing daily, and the compounding effect of how that impacts our business, impacts our lives, and being consistent with that. And I'm going to start plugging into Denny's call because I want to be equipping my team with what he's doing as well, because he brings wonderful scripts. Even though everyone on this call, nobody's writing anything down, I know that everything he says we should be writing down. So there you go, Denny. And as far as podcasts, I listen to several leadership podcasts. Craig Groeschel, which I really enjoy, Andy Stanley, John Maxwell, different podcasts there. Just looking to grow my leadership lid and bump it up a little bit, to look at things in a different perspective. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. Denny.
Well, I'm not highbrow at all. I go out at 2:30 to do my walk, which I should be running. However, I listen to my Bible through the year. And then I go for my optimism, and from the spiritual side or the bright side, I listen to Joel Osteen. And then I'm allowed dessert. So I'll either pop it into a Charlie Kirk or I'll go Joe Buck's fan and listen. I scan headlines of all the Inman stuff and all what's going on in the YouTube. I scan it. I don't immerse myself in that because a lot of it's clickbait, a lot of it's opinion on what's going to happen. I don't need to read someone's opinion on what the future Powerball numbers are going to be. They have no idea. They're selling what they're printing. I find myself scanning and using a lot of time to think. That's what I'm doing. That's what I listen to, and the rest of the time I think.
I love it. I, like Kristan, listen to Housing Wire and Morning Wire. It gives me just enough knowledge to know what's happening without a bunch of opinion. Yeah. Right. And then I'm reading this great book, Know What You're For. Forgive me, I do not know the author. Just started reading it, but Know What You're For, FOR. It's a easy read and a fantastic book, just really on back to James's thing, value. What's your value? And I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you three for your time. I know time is incredibly valuable. We're going to do this again. I believe that we communicated exactly what I was hoping that we could share. We're going to do this again in early November, and we're going to be joined by Corinne Wynn, who's with Real Brokers, large, incredibly valid producer in the Scottsdale marketplace.
Yeah, she's here in Phoenix on the west side.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited to bring her into the conversation, her perspective, obviously with different leadership input. Mm-hmm. And I think, although it could change as the market changes daily, what we feel is most important to talk about could change. But our plan right now is what is the greatest thing we've adopted and how is that showing up in our world, and talking through how we're like actually tactically working in the shift.
It'd be good.
The shift. Cool. So thank you all. Thank you everybody for joining us. We will record this. And if you need a copy, just shoot us an email and we'll get it to you.
Thanks, Shana.
Take care.